right to Tony DeCopel at the dinner. Tony, what are you hearing? You were there. What did you see? What happened? Well, we've lost Tony for a moment, but we want to take you now to Washington Hilton Hotel, where this incident happened. The White House Correspondent Dinner was taking place. President Trump was in attendance at the time when somehow some noises were heard, and all of a sudden people ducked underneath their tables, and there was pandemonium for a moment. Nobody knew what was going on. The Secret Service came in and suddenly got the president. But we do have Tony on the line right now. Tony, you're there at the dinner. Tell us what happened right before people just ducked under their tables.
Yeah, Carissa, we seated. The president had been seated. Everyone had started tucking into a salad, and out of nowhere, the conversation was interrupted by it was back first the president, and then every significant member of the administration within the ballroom. They then stayed in that defensive position, not sure what was going to happen next, and the SWAT team came in onto the stage, guys in helmets, guys in vests, guys with the long guns, and they were scanning the ballroom. It was a moment of tremendous tension because no one seemed to know whether there was a gunman on the loose, under a table. The threat was somewhere, and at that particular moment, it felt like it was everywhere. One by one, the Secret Service evacuated.
We continue to lose. He's coming in and out, but we're looking at video right now. This was when suddenly there was some type of noise heard at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And suddenly, everyone who was in that room, you're looking at the video now, just went underneath their tables. They didn't know what was going on. We have CBS correspondents there. Tony DeCopel is there. Some of our executives were at the dinner as well. Of course, President Trump was there. So as soon as this happened, we understand that the Secret Service came in and immediately took the president away. I do need to verify some of the information that I have been hearing myself. I've been monitoring this situation, and we understand supposedly there was some kind of shots fired or something like that, but we do have to confirm that. This is what I've been hearing myself from the reports that I have been seeing. But of course, we do have people who were inside the building. We don't know what kind of security was there. I want to find out from Tony when we get him back how strong the security was, and what he's hearing when we get him back on the line is exactly what. Here's the moment it happened right here, and you see the confusion on the president's face and everyone's face, and you see right there in the background the Secret Service coming in and taking the president away from the scene. And you can imagine the fear and the terror in the room at the moment when this transpired. But once again, this was the first time that the president was supposed to speak at the White House Correspondents' Dinner after boycotting it during his first presidency. And this is the first time he was going to do it now in his second term in terms of speaking at this event. Usually it's a lighthearted moment. It's a time to celebrate the First Amendment. And there were a lot of people looking forward to this. Prior to that, Wujia Chang, which is a correspondent with CBS News, she was there, and there was laughter, there were smiles, and it was such a lighthearted time for everyone who was in the room. So having this happen is, of course, an absolute shock in terms of something like this happening at an event like this. All right, so now we have Ed O'Keefe joining us until we can get Tony back. Ed, were you there?
Carissa, yes. Hello.
Hi.
We're in the ballroom. First thing to know about this ballroom is it has terrible Wi-Fi and telephone connections. Those of us in the audience are all safe, fine, still unaware of what exactly occurred. but it occurred around 8:40 p.m. tonight while we were in the cell. And suddenly, from the back of the room, you could hear plates crash, and just a wave of security officials started running towards the front of the room. And by the time I turned back towards the front of the stage, the president was off the stage. And the security
All right, Ed, we're losing you now. We're going to go back to Tony. Tony, let's see if we can hear you.
I'm not hearing anything.
Tony, we can hear you for a bit. Can you speak up one more time?
Go. Yeah, Carissa, picking up on what Ed was saying, the Secret Service team was not on the stage with the president, so they had a lot of ground to cover when this threat emerged, and they moved very quickly, and they were throwing everything in their path out of the way. People were under the table, and a contingent of Secret Service, because our tables with CBS were near the front this year, were right next to us, and these guns were all at the ready. And then one by one, after the president was removed, defense was removed, the attorney general was removed, the defense secretary was removed by one. The entire cabinet was gone. We have heard things are apparently going to come back on, and the program will continue. So you're going to know more about what's going on outside the room, but the room in here is the tension has died down, and people are thinking, as a show of resilience, that we're going to get back on track here.
Tony, talk a little bit about the security when you were going into that room. How strict was it?
The security is significant. Multiple roads are blocked, and you show at an outer perimeter. It's a metal detector. There are Secret Service details with guns and bulletproof vests going through everybody's bags. Everything's out of your pocket. You're being wanded. It's a significant.
Yeah, we can only imagine just how tight security must be at an event like this, where you have such high-profile people coming to this event, not to mention the President of the United States. Go ahead.
Yes. And, yeah. Carissa?
Yeah, Tony, go ahead.
This was a very secure room. Ed will be able to tell you, actually, about the security. This is a typical presidential level of security.
Absolutely, Carissa. We had been told to be here, 90 minutes before to get through what is the standard kind of magnetometer checks that anyone would go through if you're going to be at a presidential event. And everyone was cleared through, which is why the initial reports we have heard from our colleagues who were seated closer to the back of the ballroom, they were told that this shooter, or alleged shooter, apparent shooter, was able to fire off shots outside the ballroom in an area sort of en route to this place. And that is what compelled the security to start running into the room to secure the president, the first lady, vice president, and all members of the cabinet that are here. You had the Secretary of State, the Treasury Secretary, the acting Attorney General. We were seated at my table with the House Majority Leader, Steve Scalise, who, remember, is a survivor of an assassination attempt several years ago. The moment the security operations began, he hit the floor and hid under the table. And within 90 seconds, his security detail had located him, told him they had him, and escorted him out of the room. He is part of congressional leadership and therefore has a security detail. But what we witnessed tonight was the execution of well-laid plans. This is a room the Secret Service, the Capitol Police, the Washington Police know well. They know every nook and cranny of how to get people in and out of here. And they exhibited pretty quickly what they can do when there's this kind of threat against the president, the first lady, and the vice president. We are awaiting further word here in the room from our colleagues at the White House Correspondents Association on what exactly we're going to do to continue. But if it is true, what these reports that we've heard from our colleagues are, that something happened.
And talk a little bit about when you were all going into, and Tony, if you can hear me as well, either one of you can answer this. As you were going into the room, did you see anyone who was acting suspiciously, or did you see anything that
No,
made you think,
not
oh,
at
what's
all.
going on? Go ahead.
Not at all. And we were eating salad. Like as Tony said, it's a salad course. You know, you're sitting there, you're making small talk with the folks at your table, and suddenly this plane crash in the back of the room, which led to waiters.
And we just want to reiterate, and I'm just going to stop you for one moment. We want to reiterate what we're hearing and what you're confirming for us. It is reportable right now that at the White House Correspondents' dinner, the attendees heard what sounded like 3 to 4 gunshots at around 8:30 p.m. The shots sounded like they were fired from outside the ballroom near the back stairwell opposite the stage where the president was seated. The POTUS was evacuated within seconds. We just heard Ed O'Keefe talking about the execution of getting the president out of that room and getting to the dignitaries who were there. Gunpowder could be smelled near the back of the room. Among those escorted out by security, Hexeth, Besant, Oz, Patel,
New York,
Scalise.
can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you. We have to let people at home know as well that we understand that Wi-Fi is very shoddy in there, and so that's why we're hearing you, not as well as we wish we could. Ed, go ahead. What's the latest right now?
Carissa, can you hear Ed?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry, folks. Apologies again. This is a notoriously poorly connected room. This is one of the largest ballrooms in all of Washington. And for reference and context, this is the same hotel where President Reagan was shot back in March 1981, just outside this hotel. And it was in this ballroom that he had been speaking moments before he had been shot. So this is a place, again, that the Secret Service knows well, knows how to get people in and out of.
And talk about who was in the room. Talk about all of the dignitaries who were in the room. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, we had the president, the vice president, the first lady, guests from the cabinet, including the defense secretary, the acting attorney general, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Health and Human Services. All of them rushed out of the room by security personnel. And it was that someone had made the determination. Everyone in the line of succession, everyone in the cabinet had to clear out. I believe you can hear Tony DeCote. That's the line.
Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, just picking up on what Ed said. There is
Right back. Kristen.
Okay.
And high net worth individuals. David Rubenstein was here. Dana White, the UFC chairman, was here. There's a lot of people here who have their own private security, which was another complicating factor here. The remarkable thing at first is that the room, which is thousands of people, did not know what was happening. There was a ruckus, almost as though there was a fight, and there was confusion. People kept chatting. They maybe turned their head. And then the situation escalated rapidly when they saw how many guns were drawn and the serious SWAT presence up on the stage. And that indicated to everybody that they know what is happening, but it is deadly serious. And that's when everyone hit the ground and was under the table. And then the process that Ed was describing kicked into gear. They rehearsed for this sort of thing. The exits, and they began to sweep the room and methodically pick out every administration official in order of succession and get them out the door.
And Tony, from our colleague Pat Milton, a law enforcement source saying that at least 6 shots were actually fired before the gunman was neutralized. The gunman was apparently in the hallway by the metal detectors just outside of the ballroom where all of you, Tony, the diners were being served. And we're going to go now to White House producer Kristen Brown to talk to us a little bit about what happened. Kristen.
Hi. So I was in the very back of the room. So if you're looking at the stage, it's all the way on the opposite side. We were right next to the kitchens. That doors right behind us are what leads up to the lobby where we think the shooting happened. I heard about 4 or 5 shots They didn't even sound like gunshots. It sounded like something had crashed in the kitchen. It was a really long, echoing sound each time that we heard it. So it wasn't originally like a typical gunshot sound that you would hear. So there was a lot of confusion at first, and then we very quickly realized that they were gunshots. So everybody dove under their tables immediately. We saw Secret Service agents immediately run into action. The first thing I heard was the agent next to me yelling at us or yelling at his fellow officers. But we could hear a racket out in the lobby. So the doors that we were in front of lead up to the lobby, so we could hear something going on up there. And then we were just under the door for several minutes, and now we're still here in this ballroom.
All right. Well, here's something else we are finding out now from Camilo Montoya, Galvez, and Pat Milton. The gunman was shot and killed. What do you know about that?
We have heard that rumor down here. It's very hard to tell because we don't have a lot of service. So there's a lot of rumors going around that we haven't verified yet. But we have heard that he was shot and killed in the lobby. I will say we were talking to Will Slitzer from CNN, who said that he saw a person with a weapon in the lobby, and an agent told Wolf to get down. So there was clearly somebody seen in the lobby with a weapon. And we have heard that the shooter is down and that there's no remaining threat to us here. And we're being told to stay put and that there will be information coming to us shortly. But yes, that is what we've heard, that the shooter has been killed.
And we're looking right now, we're looking at a live shot right now at the podium right now, waiting for everything to resume. So what's the mood in the room as you all are standing around? We're going to talk to, what's the mood right now in terms of everyone waiting as we look at this live shot at the podium?
Yeah, that's fine.